Mr. Bharat, I hope you can hear me. Sir, I can't hear you. Mr. Bharai,
Muted. You're muted.
Okay, now can you hear me?
I can hear you now, sir.
Okay.
All right, so the G7 grouping has come in with its own concern. India has come in with its own concern. Of course, despite our, hot and cold relationship with Canada, there is a larger escalation happening at the global level with multiple wars. What can the G7 do at this point in time? The Americans are a part of it. The Canadians are a part of it.
Well, what has happened is that this meeting, which is taking place annually, and they have invited India and 6 other countries as guest countries. So really it is 14 nations of the world that are meeting there. Originally the Ukraine war and the tariff war, those would have been the 2 topics on the top agenda. But now the third topic that has been added, maybe even more important, is the Israel-Iran war. The relations between India and Canada, they seem to be going on the right track. This weekend I was in Washington, D.C. and talked to some of the Indian-Canadian friends who had come for that meeting. They stated that the atmosphere in Canada has improved considerably since Prime Minister Carney has come into power. The Khalistanis are not as vocal as there. That situation has also happened in United States. Panoon and his terrorist colleagues are keeping quiet. Maybe they are afraid of Trump, that he will catch hold of them and deport them, especially that unpredictability does help, so we don't see any Khalistani demonstrations or Khalistani noise or Panoon posting videos or posting on X. Now, economically, I think it's high time that G7 should be expanded. India is the 4th largest economy, and it's okay that they are getting invited every year, but they should realize that they are more important economy than UK, France, Japan and Italy. So it should be permanent place for India, and whether they want to make it from G7 to G8 or G11, because Brazil should be included. There's an important Latin American economy, so along Mexico, and maybe Indonesia or Saudi Arabia. Now they do have G20, but certainly G7 has to be redefined and reformulated. Now the bilateral relationship between the 2 countries, I think Canada realizes that you can no longer ignore the 4th largest economy in the world, the world's largest democracy, as well as world's most populated country. And there are 1.8 million people of Indian origin, and even if you take out about 700,000 Sikhs, most of whom are loyal, decent people, it's only a very tiny fraction of the Sikhs that are making trouble, and they've taken hold of Gurudwara, and that's where they are trying to influence. But I can tell you in USA, most of the Sikhs have nothing to do with these Khalistanis because we intermingle with them. They all attend our functions and they invite our functions. So I think this Khalistani problem has been blown out of proportion, at least in the press and media. It's the same number of people who go from one town to another and try to demonstrate. And hopefully with Mark Carney, he's a smart man. He is a Canadian in origin. He was the president of Canada's central bank, and then UK made him the president of Bank of England, which was a rare honor, and now he is back in Canada, and he will understand the realities as a more common sense, smart man, and I think the relations between the 2 countries will definitely improve. This will also give an opportunity for those important trading partners to talk about the tariffs, because Trump has kicked off sort of tariff war against Canada, Mexico, both of whom will be there. Then European Union will be represented along with Italy, UK, France and Germany. So there will be important opportunity when people sit down right across from each other and talk. It gives an opportunity to know each other's viewpoint. It's true that United States has a trade deficit with 6 out of those 7 countries. Only UK is the country with which United States has a surplus. And I think President Trump has a right diagnosis but wrong treatment. Yes, USA has both trade deficit as well as budget deficit, and it needs to be addressed, it needs to be corrected. How to do it, maybe if you'd have done it in a more congenial manner, putting the problem across to them and saying, guys, come up with the solution, I cannot tolerate this, and I'm giving you 6 months to come up with the trade negotiations. That might have worked better rather than impose the tariffs first and then say, okay, now we are ready to talk. I think this first meeting for President Trump under the G7 format will give that opportunity to have better understanding of each other's problem. And just like India has done quietly, they have sent the negotiating team to try to sort out the difference in the foreign exchange reserve as well as trade deficit. Hopefully that will happen among the G7 countries. Well, actually G6, because UK has already come up with its own trade pact with USA. So now it is the 6 other countries with whom it needs to be sorted out.
All right.
As
Okay.
far as Israel is concerned, I think there is a virtual unanimity among the G7 countries that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. We already know that we have a neighbor, or to say, monkey ke haath mein jab daru aa jata hai. So already Pakistan is trying to purport terrorism by saying, oh, if you do this, if you take any action against the terrorists on our territory, we will try to use nuclear weapons. An Iranian Ayatollah had been openly telling every week, Israel is a one-bomb country, we'll wipe it off from map of earth. So Israel has every right to retaliate and destroy the nuclear capacity of Iran. And I'm glad that all the European countries and all the G7 countries have unanimity that Iran cannot and
Right,
should not
Mr.
have
Bharai, let me also take in
nuclear weapons.
Manan into this conversation. Manan, if the